perfectly on time for a very interesting fireside chat today. I have two towering personalities with me. Many of you know both of them. To my immediate left is Mr. K.N. Siva Subramanian, legendary fund manager. He was the first fund manager of the first open-ended mutual fund scheme. Okay, that's the towering achievement of this gentleman. He built a formidable multi-decade track record for two flagship schemes, Blue Chip and Prima. Many of your investors have created significant wealth by investing in both the schemes. He retired from active investment management in 2014, but still retains his involvement as well as his sharp insights in this space. Welcome to the program, Shiva. And the other gentleman is Mr. Ajay Bhagga, who's a fund industry veteran with over 3 decades of experience, both as a manufacturer and as a distributor. So he was my boss in Kotari Pioneer. He was also the CEO of Kotak and Lotus AMCs. He has been, like I said, in both sides of the across both sides of the table. Ajay and his team were instrumental in the launch of the critically acclaimed Citibank Suvidha in Bangalore in 1996. So he's a doer and with a formidable reputation preceding him. Okay, I know both these gentlemen. I'm sure that all of you will benefit from their intellectual insights through the next 45 minutes to 1 hour. Welcome again, Ajay. So I have a set of questions in a fireside chat, some serious, mostly serious, some not so serious questions for both the gentlemen. So I think I'll start my first question to Shiva. We are just, emerging from a brutal pandemic. I don't know, I just assume we are emerging from a brutal pandemic or re-entering a new one. What is the one learning or practice adopted during the pandemic years you wish becomes permanent?
I will go with the learning from COVID. COVID has taught us that life is uncertain. So don't postpone what you can today for tomorrow, be it your physical health or your financial health. So that is the learning. And, if you have a bucket list, please go ahead and try to, fulfill most of what you want to do as soon as possible.
Thanks, Shiva. Thank you. So I better get cracking. Ajay, what is your take on this?
Easiest answer, ditto, when Shivaji is saying this. But I would totally endorse that. I have started believing a lot more in destiny. So good way to look at it is, I'm not saying get lazy and leave it everything to the Almighty, but good way to look at it is what has passed is destiny. What is coming is your free will. You can make the difference. So height has been given by God. Weight I have chosen. Look at it like that. And go ahead and finish the work because we don't know when it ends. Make the most of this. Having the contentment and realizing life is too short, but not being worried. So to take care of the worry, think of life as infinite. We have been here millions of times. We will be here again. But in terms of shortness of life, get as much as you can done. There should be no regrets. Go dancing like the players in Titanic, playing the violins as the Titanic is sinking. You don't need to sink, but at least keep playing the violins.
Thanks, Ajay. Okay, the next one is for you, Ajay. Let's start with you. I know you are a very keen student of the global economy as well as macro developments. You're a voracious reader of both Indian and overseas publications and the news media. You track a lot of macro developments. What is the one macro indicator that a typical MFD should track? Which one macro indicator?
Well, there are split views on this, Harish. Warren Buffett will say clearly it's the company that I am investing in. What's happening in the macro, I never let it bother. And that helps him to invest at the height of the 2008 crisis. That helps him to pick up petroleum stocks beginning of last year. So one way is to look at that as investors, but as distributors, investors are always looking at us for some kind of guidance. So being macro aware works. See, for the last 8-10 years, the macro hedge funds did not give any returns. It was easiest to be tech positive, to be momentum plus, and like ARK or Cathy Wood, you made a lot of money. She was beating Warren Buffett for 2 years. And this year, Warren Buffett has made up for the last 3 years. And it's not a new script. It happened in 2000 also. 99 and 2000 later, he wrote, I might as well have not come to office because I didn't add any value. But come 2000, March, and the correction which took 2 years to reach 49% down, he had made up for the last 3 years. So there will be different styles. One indicator, I would say, be macro aware. For us, what matters a lot is the DXY, is the dollar level. Dollar level, because it cascades in a waterfall into emerging market flows, it has a very strong negative correlation on emerging market stock performance. So it's very relevant to us. It went up from 92 to 114 last year. You saw what happened. And now as it goes down in this year, it's going to be very inversely correlated to emerging markets. And that's why we are hoping that after nearly 10-15 years, emerging markets start outperforming and India will be ahead of it. So DXY, Hari, if one indicator.
Okay, perfect. Shiva, what's your take on this?
In my view, I think the most important macro indicator you need to track is the interest rate, both globally and locally. And that is played out. When interest rates were very low, it supported very high valuations in equity markets. And we saw huge gains in fixed income as well. Now we are seeing a reversal in interest rates and reaching a stage where fixed income is beginning to look very attractive in India. So apart from fixed incomes looking attractive, interest rates have a role to play in the way companies are valued. So again, we are seeing a reversal here. So we need to be careful about companies which sport very high valuations. And we know what happened to the tech stocks in the US, which were sporting very high PE multiples. Same is the case with India, where companies with barely, which were barely making any profit, trading at, sky-high multiples. Now they're all coming back down to earth. So my view is that interest rate is probably the key macro variable you need to track.
Thanks, Shiva. Very valid points. Thank you so much. Back to you, Shiva. If MFD were to handle your portfolio, your investments, what are the 2-3 attributes that you would look for in an MFD to become your personal investment advisor?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. The biggest takeaway for me is that the MFD should have empathy for his client. I think he should be customer-centric, be empathetic to the needs of the client. Second is to have a long-term view. He shouldn't push products keeping this year in mind, next year in mind. You're building wealth for the long run, so keep your recommendations with the long term in mind. Third is, you need to have very good product knowledge. The world is changing fast and we are being flooded with a number of products. Personally, I'd like to keep my investments very simple. I don't want to be carried away by many of the newfangled products which are coming in the market. So be careful, but be aware of the products which are coming in the market.
Okay, thanks, Shiva. Ajay?
I'll tell you a couple of stories because that will really, illustrate totally what Shivaji said. So putting the customer first. So I used to work for a bank where I was handling 27 out of top 100 Indians portfolio. I met 27 of the top richest Indians and we were managing their portfolios. And my global boss, who was an investment banker, not my wealth management boss, he says, when I look at your contract for wealth management, I'm trying to see where is the bank. You don't seem to be making money. And when I'm looking at the investment bank contract, the term sheet, I'm looking at where is the customer. Because the customer is not making money, the bank has everything. So I told him that I am pricing it based on relationship. And this happened, one of the pharma companies was selling their portfolio and to a multinational. On the multinational side, we were banking, so we got a foot in. And that person would not meet us because they were going to put in money. And those were the glorious days where even for liquid funds, there would be some amount of, some sharing of the commission, which obviously we as an MNC bank would not even consider. Still, I got about 40% of that money that came in with hands tied behind the back with respect to what people could do. Not much more we could do. And what was the reason? Persistence, landing up every time, asking for the business, and living up to your word. I think that empathy, what he spoke, Shivaji said, very critical. And that is your big positive. If you want to do a SWOT of the individual and the single firm distributors who are here versus the banks, versus the large distributors, the RM will keep changing in those places. But you are married to the customer. I remember there was a person who came in at the height of 2008-9. We were recalling loans, trying to rewrite the loans for customers. And I met this gentleman who had worked since he was 19 years old, and at 65 the bank had called him back in. He was still growing strong at 70. So for about 51 years, Harish, he had done only shipping finance. And you cannot, scooter or car you can repossess and try to sell. What will you do with a ship? So he said, we are not into just engagements, we marry the customer. And if I am lending for shipping, it's the most cyclical. It goes with the global economy. We stay with the customer across cycles. That's what each of you do. So remember the birthdays, remember the marriage anniversaries. Everyone will say, oh, why did you bother? They feel very nice. Even you can't afford sending a cake, at least give them a call. Way back in 93, I had made a database. Today they call it CRM and all. All my gold customers I knew. Suvidha, when we used to do here, I had 350 corporates. I knew every CFO. I had called on them. So the harder you work, luckier you get. Lot of intense homework, living up to your promise, not trying to con the customers. Customers are very sharp. Eventually you will be found out. It takes very simple stuff, but in the hard times, customers need a lot of hand-holding. So go ahead and hand-hold in the tough times. Don't disappear. I remember when the dot-com crisis happened, and we had Internet Opportunities Fund, we had the Infotech Fund, which had been doubling every few weeks, and then it all melted down. We did more than 61 seminars at that time, town to town. Shivaji, Sukumar, myself, Harish and his counterparts around the country, we went and told customers, this too shall pass, this has happened, why did it happen, what do you have to do? And both our institutional distributors and the retail distributors, we armed them. Vivek Reddy would write down pages and pages of single pages explaining the situation and how it will turn around, and it turned around very well. So at the hard times, we have to stand by the customer. That is very critical. Everybody has technical. Now, the information asymmetry has gone. You are as good as the best bank. In fact, you are ahead of them because you are nimble-footed. You have the technology, you have the knowledge. The empathy factor will really make you stand out, and customers will love you for that. One very big company of this city was doing their ADR. Their credit card line got maxed out. I remember in a matter of hours, we had got $200,000 added to that time. He was one of the seniors. He was not the CEO. Very well-known person of this country and this city. We woke up, everybody needed in the bank and got that bill paid off. Their conference for the ADR was happening in New York at that time. That is legendary. Every year I'll get a note from that person thanking us for that. He's remembered that, I have forgotten it. And I don't want to take names because of client confidentiality. But be legendary. Land up for the customer. That will help you the most, technical, everything. And it is very easy given how badly people are treating everywhere. Anywhere you go, hotels, airlines, shops, everybody's in a rush, everybody's talking down to you, everybody's being rude to you. You don't get legendary service. You give legendary service, you will stand out. As simple as that.
Thanks, Ajay. Thank you. In fact, during the distress of COVID, April 2020, when one of the mutual fund houses closed 6 of their schemes, I know of at least 5 to 6 MFDs who dipped into their own personal funds and freed up liquidity for their clients who had money stuck in the 6 schemes that were wound up and were in limbo because of various court cases also. So it's, I think, a smaller version of what you were, you put $200,000 into their account. So these gentlemen put, ladies and gentlemen put, 50,000, 1 lakh, so that, old people can continue getting money from those accounts. Great. In fact, the recurring theme today, Ajay, was there were 3 things that were told to be added to an MFD's product portfolio. Okay. I wouldn't want to name the manufacturer or, who evangelized it. One was passives. There was a lot of debate on passives. Second was, alternate funds, okay, including REITs, multi-asset strategies. And third was quantitative or, algorithmic or, data-driven funds. How do you put it in a scale? I mean, how much would you recommend that, a typical MFD has these 3, in his books as offerings?
He should be the one answering, but I'll try. I gave a very long answer. Another long answer coming. Don't fall for this. It's very simple. You just need one diversified large cap, one diversified mid cap, one diversified small cap fund. Have a balanced fund if you want, or you create the balanced fund with these 3 and a debt fund if you want. Have some opportunity money. When you're designing the client's portfolio, start with 3 buckets. First bucket is the emergency or safety bucket. We say 6 months. I'm saying post-COVID, we have learned life is so uncertain. Put 2 years into that bucket. And now you're getting 7-8% bank fixed deposit return. Don't think of the tax and all. Acha, it's good if you can pay tax. You're getting some development back for it, and it is a pride that we are able to pay some tax. Pay that 7-8%, lock it in the emergency bucket. Second is your investments bucket, where you diversify as much as you can. Diversification is the only free lunch we have in finance. All the big guys, Warren Buffett will say, have a concentrated portfolio, put a few eggs and watch that basket carefully. Not for the 99.9999% of us. It's okay for the top 300 and the Shivajis of the world. Today he manages his own portfolio. Most of us will fail on that. So diversify that investment bucket. And third is your dream bucket. Put your alternatives, put your all these things. all the gambling that you want to do, put it in that. If it scores, it will do very well. Good for it. Otherwise, shattered dreams, that is fine. If your first two buckets are done. So, problem in finance is we try to talk down to the customer. We try to complexify things, complicate things, which are very simple. Because if you ask me for one mantra, I would say find a fund manager like Siva in a diversified small cap fund for life, do an SIP. That's all you need to do. Your life is made. I wish we could relive from 93 to now, and we had kept SIPs in Prima. There are a few customers who have, and who have seen 100 times, 150 time returns. Because the big thing is, when I say this, people say, you are quoting spray and pray, that you just invest a lot. But data is backing this. Arizona State, there is a professor who puts out a research. He was doing the US market first from 1926 to about 2019 is the last research. We are expecting this year now post-COVID. Now he's done India also. 4% of the stocks gave you the entire market return for the last 60 years. And for the US, it's 100. Today, can anyone tell? People come and tell you, I bought Twitter at this, I bought Amazon in 2000. When you ask them, sir, what is the Amazon of today? No one can tell you. So diversification. Giving that play of that Amazon. Now, Prashant Jain wrote SAR. Did you all read it? How many read that? SAR, his last note.
I think many would have read.
84,000 crores made from 2002 to 2022. Out of every 100 companies that he invested in, 5 were a total write-off. 24 were lost money. About, so how much, and about 6 were multi-baggers, 1,000 baggers, Bajaj Finance types. I'm not recommending, just taking an example. Went up, and the rest were winners. Sometime, 5 times, 20 times, whatever they made money. Those 6 winners made up for all the 29% of losers. Could you have told? When he was in PSUs, all of us were saying, get out of his funds, he's not worked. Last 6 years, he's not got return. 70% PSU bank index gave last year. None of us thought it would do that. 12 years of underperformance. Diversification. For the rest of us, try and run away from these complex products. It happened in 2008. All these who are telling you algos and all, even a Renaissance fund, which is the person, you have read the book, the man who solved the markets, PhD is sitting there, they had a very bad year. So these market models work till they don't work, which we saw in 2008. So that PhD will come and tell you, they have also not read it. The banks who wrote those derivatives, 400-page contracts, somebody sitting somewhere only knew what will happen. Big companies got washed out. Easiest trade was yen, Swiss franc and dollar. Do this, borrow in yen, carry it here, swap it in Swiss franc. Wiped out counties in the US, wiped out countries, wiped out companies here. Companies just reneged on it. Board has not approved. How could CFO sign on it? Case is still on. Don't let your customers fall for that. Complexity is bad for your financial health.
Thank you, Ajay. Wonderful, wonderful take on it. See, soaked in so much of knowledge. Thank you. Yes, Shiva, your take on these 3, strands of investment: passives, alternates, and model-based, quant-based, data-based investing.
I 100% agree with whatever Ajay has just said. Just to add, I think being clever in the financial service business is counterproductive. I think the people who are clever have flamed out because they try too hard to do something extraordinary. The guys who do well in the financial markets are the steady types. Okay. So, as far as products are concerned, the simpler it is, the better it is for the customer. And we have to keep the customer at the center of whatever advice we give. So keep it simple, number one. Two, clearly, I think many of these products which are being pushed today come with attendant risks, and also the upside is there for the manufacturer and the distributor by way of commissions. So even if they do better than the plain vanilla mutual fund, that gets eaten away by the additional, fee you pay to both the distributor and the manufacturer. So I think first is to keep it simple. Don't go for any newfangled products. I completely endorse whatever Ajay is saying. They don't work in the long run. And the simpler it is, the better it is for both you and the customer in the long run. So that is my advice. I think as far as the passive debate is concerned, the large cap stocks, the information edge the pros have more or less disappeared. And here, not just in the world, even in India, we are finding it extremely difficult to beat the benchmarks. And it's not that the benchmarks have not gone anywhere. For last 30 years, I think the Sensex has compounded by almost 13%,
Yes.
which is a lot of money. And this is the compounding. You allow the money to compound. And the index is compounded at 13%. I wager that in the next 30 years, it will be very hard for large cap funds to beat the benchmarks. Having said that, there is opportunity in the mid and small cap space, mainly because the listed space in India is very large. And you'll have, pockets which nobody else has identified. Some fund manager goes there and identifies these stocks. But even there, with time, the information edge will close. So diversification, I think, is the mantra. And here, increasingly, I think passive, mainly because passives, the fee charge is so low that even if an active fund manager does much better, the additional return is eaten away by way of fee. So from a customer point of view, I think passive funds make a lot of sense, especially in the large cap space. I think the next 10 to 20 years, you will still have active managers beating the benchmarks in the mid and small cap space. And let me also add that the benchmarks in the mid and small cap space are not well thought out. Okay, so you may have a lot of stocks which a fund manager may not invest in, because the index contains a lot of stocks which are not investable, because we cannot defend investing in many of these stocks. So I think there is room in the mid and small cap space for a diversified active fund. But in the large cap space, passive is the way to go.
Wow. Okay. Good. Wonderful. Forthright opinions with no agenda attached. Fantastic. Shiva, all of us have our favorite acronyms. My favorite acronym is VUCA. Okay, we are in a VUCA world, because you can blame anything on VUCA world. Hey, you didn't perform, it's a VUCA world. Uber didn't come, uncertainty, VUCA world. Okay, this thing has fallen, VUCA world. What is your favorite acronym? An acronym for the times.
I think FOMO, perfectly
Wonderful.
captures the times we will live in. 2 years back, I had a friend who said that he met the guy who evangelized cryptos, Bitcoin, at the Burning Man.
Yes.
Yeah, there's something called the Burning Man event. And he said, I met him.
Burning Man Festival at Nevada.
They lived in the same tent, apparently. It's an event where, the liberals generally congregate, woke people, and a lot of new ideas are bandied about. A lot of pot gets smoked, and, they get very creative. So he said, Bitcoin was just $10 then. Look at where it is today. So I think the jury is still out as to whether Bitcoin will have a future or not. But I think a lot of people who saw the massive rally in Bitcoin and got, they saw their friend investing in Bitcoins, becoming millionaires, their neighbors investing there, got drawn in, and now in hot water. So I think please keep away from newfangled ideas. This FOMO is a bad word. Please, don't worry about missing out on trends. Do your own due diligence. Don't get taken in by fads.
Fantastic. Shiva, if you could just expand FOMO.
Fear of missing out, sorry.
Okay, fear of missing out. Wonderful. I think that's a brilliant analogy. Beautiful. Yes, Ajay, your favorite acronym?
It's the same, but expressed in another one, JOMO. Joy of missing out.
Wow.
I give Gyan through stories. So, 21-year-old son of my friends, driving a new car, costs about 30 lakhs. I said, yaar, bada acha hai, kahan se loan liya? Where did you take a loan? He said, no uncle, Bitcoin, I made money. I said, Arey wah, I called up the father. I said, you're a fool. What are you doing? No, you don't understand. You're outdated. Blah, 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 blah. Now, recently, the father sent me his CVK, get him a job somewhere. And the car has also disappeared. I don't know what happened. So, joy of missing out. You must tell your customers, okay, sir, and don't stand in their way. They want to do it. Okay, sir, 1%, 2%. You take 5% of your portfolio as gambling money, maybe 5% of your fixed income portfolio, because you will make that return in a year. So you'll be back by a year on your fixed income portfolio. Use that as gambling money. But the joy of missing out these new fashions is very great. So JOMO, exactly what Shivaji said, adding to FOMO, these Robin Hooders, these Reddit players. See, now the US, they have already started, they have arrested 8 firm people who were pumping and dumping stocks on a very industrial scale. They became so huge because Reddit communities, 250,000 followers. You just put in, go and buy today. It was catching the institutions who were shorting on the leaden foot. So many hedge funds which were shorting, useless stocks, had to apply for bankruptcy because the Robin Hooders, the Redditors went in. But end mein kya, what happened in the end? Those stocks went back because fundamentals will always win. So JOMO, you must keep on your desk. When the customer comes with FOMO, you say, हाँ ठीक है, up to 5% you gamble, it won't come back, or the government will put such a tax regulation. Look at now, you can't offset a loss, but you have to pay gains. Now they're thinking of gaming also, how to tackle it. I would go with Buffett. He says, if I was offered all Bitcoin in the world for $25, I think I would still not agree to buy it.
Wonderful. So FOMO and JOMO, two punch dialogues for you guys. Great, great.
And this was not rehearsed. It was thought on the, on the fly by both of us.
Superb. A serious question for you, Ajay. Now, what do you think is an ideal time frame for an MFD to do a business plan? See, I mean, they are all self-employed / entrepreneurs on a mini scale. Ideally, what should be the size or the long-term thing of a business plan, a viable business plan? 3, 5, 7, 10. What, in your opinion, should be a business plan time horizon?
See, we have the king of small caps here, so he's the most relevant answer, but I will try. I think when you start of the year, you should have enough in terms of trail commission coming into you to cover all your basics, plus leave aside business development expenses, plus, so look at the business as 3 stages. One is just you are investing and still you have to break even. Second, you are broken even. Money is coming in, not up to what you would like. Third is it's become a cash cow. So try to aim for that third. In the short term, when you start year one, that is the beauty of this business. As the market goes up, you get paid on AUM, a percentage of AUM. So the better the fund manager does, better the government does, better global economy does, you end up making money. So understand the drivers of your business, what makes you. Second, don't get too greedy. Leave enough for the customer on the table. Don't go after high-fangled products with high commissions. Why is there a high commission? Because there is a higher risk, and that manufacturer is pushing it down your throat with a higher commission. Think through that. Think through that. Is it right for my customer? Third, I would say, so 1 year you have to survive and ideally reach on Jan 1 a position where you say, all my salaries, all my expenses, all my dream bucket overflow is taken care of my trail. Wonderful position, whatever time it takes you to reach, do that. Second, have a 3-year plan, because across the cycle, it will be mid-cycle, and have a 10-year plan also. That am I investing? Like all of you coming here, spending 3 days listening to some thought leaders, meeting, making such networks. This is the best investment if you ask me. Second would be, and everybody's got an agenda in coming and telling you. Very few agenda-less people like both of us. We are happily retired, having our Tahir Sadam, and don't need to sell anything to anybody. That's the greatest mind state to be in. So eventually that, but think legacy, think succession planning. MFDs, that's a very critical part, because if you are non-institutional, remember the 400 crore fraud happened in North India by a foreign bank RM. The bank made it up. The bank made it up. That's why our compliance has to be platinum level, because we don't have that capital. We should not have a chance also of any defrauding happening, because we won't have the capital to make good. Big companies will have. They paid that 400 crores. They would have had some employee insurance, global insurance. Maybe it didn't come out of their pocket. We don't have that kind of what we call fidelity insurance in the jingo. So survival of the fittest, but I would say the survival of the empathetic. That's the big thing. Think long-term, think succession also. Build your networks, go meet each other, figure out what is happening. No harm. The market is so huge and the institutional competition is so bad, because the smart guys are out to take the last thing out of the customer's pocket. The rest are such poor service. I had my old boss, and he started the consumer bank in America for a very big investment bank. He used to be my boss here. And to get his debit card between Delhi and Bombay, he was traveling. He gave out the Man of the Match award day before in Bombay. Some of you would have seen him. So that big a personage was struggling in a bank of which he was the country head here, with me calling multiple RMs to get an ATM card on time. And the people in one branch didn't know which branch is digital, which has nobody standing there. Computer will shake your hand, which branch can give. That is the level of service we have come down to. So I would be very happy being an MFD today in India, because if you can give that service, give that empathy, bring that knowledge, there is no ceiling for you. There is no ceiling. You will be so spectacularly successful. It was not there for us in the 90s. It was not in the 2000s. Now you have very cheap technology available, so that information and technology asymmetry is gone. You can give an IRR. In my time, how many people, only brainies like Shiva, understood how to take IRR out of that Excel sheet? Now you have plug and play software available. It gives everything. Use that, but build on the human angle. You will be spectacularly successful.
Wow, lovely. Yes, Shiva. You can't say ditto.
No, unfortunately, I have not been on the other side. you are customer facing, which is an extremely tough task because you put yourself in the shoes of the customer. So unfortunately, I have not been in that kind of situation. So I can only guess at what you need to do. But having said that, I think you need to build a business for the long run. I think we need to learn that from people like the founders of Infosys, for example. They had a very long runway. They thought, forward 20, 30, 40 years. But having said that, we also need, to keep the fires burning at home. And like somebody said, the long term is a series of short terms. So I think you need to have a mix of both, maybe 60% long term, 40% a series of short term goals. And you sort of manage your cash flow on that basis and build a very strong business going forward.
Wonderful, thank you. And just to add on to that, what in your opinion should be aspirational growth rate of business, not the commission, AUM growth rate that they should be aspiring for in the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Any figure?
Yeah, I think crystal ball gazing is a very easy game. Nobody goes and checks what somebody said yesterday, day before, 5 years back. Having said that, I think India is in for very exciting times. And as the per capita income grows from current levels, we'll see a hockey stick effect playing out. The number of investors today in India, very minuscule. But 5 years out, this number can grow by leaps and bounds. So any figure we put out today, well, I heard somebody apparently said 22% growth can be expected. These are just numbers out of the hat. Nobody has a clue. But the growth is going to be substantially more than what we've seen till date. The AUMs are just going to balloon. And like Ajay said, MFDs don't have an institutional angle to it. You're free to do what is right for the customer. The times are going to be exciting. The growth is going to be fairly substantial. So I think you should brace for very heady times going forward.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And Ajay, you're tempted to say ditto.
Yeah, and I said there is no ceiling. There is no ceiling for us. Don't think that you have any competitive disadvantage. You have huge advantage because of the pathetic service being given all across the society, not only in financial services. If you can reach on time to the customer, you will really stand out. So don't bog down yourself with a number that I have to double every 3 years, 5 years. Look at the market. How is the market performing? I think if your AUM is growing in line with the market, you're doing very well. Because, pushing yourself might lead you to some bad decisions for the customer. But just become so big and try to see what is my scalability. The biggest issue for us is scalability, finding good people. You train a good people, he or she starts on their own self. The entry barrier in our business is just one certification and you are in business and some very little fees. So there is no entry barrier. The more you train, people will leave you, carry a few customers. It does not work that way. There is a lot of research which has shown RM moving from one big institution to another. They think they are carrying the book. Actually, the book hardly moves, and they take about 3 years to generate revenue what they were generating earlier. So if your core values are strong, you can keep hiring good people. You can become the nursery of talent. No harm there. Plan for that also. It's good if people find that. When I was running a BPO, for example, we could not scale up everybody into supervisor, manager, vice president roles. We had to lose people. And the good people will go, the mediocre will keep staying back. So you have to plan then for that kind of attrition. Same way in our business, think of scalability continuously. How can I scale if I'm servicing 100 customers without deteriorating service? How can I go to 1,000? How can I do multi-branch but remain with that customer experience? Possible with technology, possible with better controls, and hiring for attitude. Hire the poorer guys for attitude rather than the guys with a superior attitude. I would fire anybody talking down to a customer on the spot, because that's happening across the economy worldwide. People all are talking down to customers. So hire for the good attitude, you'll do very well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ajay. So with that, we end the hardcore business talk. Okay, Shiva and Ajay also have a fun side to them. Okay, Ajay, after our fireside chat, there is going to be a karaoke session. Okay, in the karaoke session, everyone wants you and Shiva to sing also. Okay, so if you were to have a dream song that you could sing along to in the karaoke, which one would it be?
No, I think the Devanand Mohammad Rafi song, मैं जिंदगी का साथ निभाता चला गया.
Oh, wonderful.
हर फिक्र को धुएं में उड़ाता चला. जो
You
मिल
have-
गया उसी को मुकद्दर समझ लिया, जो खो गया उसे मैं भुलाता चला गया. गम और खुशी में फर्क ना महसूस हो जहां, मैं दिल को उस मकाम पे लाता चला गया.
Superb. You will have 5 to 6 very able co-singers. So, guys, we have Ajay giving the tenor today for that song. And you, Shiva?
Well, I'm not much of a singer. Neither do I know Hindi as well as Ajay. But the song I would go for is Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindustan Hamara. Unfortunately, the backstory to this poem is not that great. Muhammad Iqbal wrote this in 1905 or 4. 25 years later, he went back on whatever he said in this song. And he is today regarded as the ideological founder of Pakistan. So, though he wrote this song, the backstory is not that great. Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
Harish, there is a line in this song, not so well known, because we just sing, since school we sing the Hum Bulbule Hain Uski and all. But it says, Misr, Yunan, Rome, ye sub civilizations, they got wiped out. And he says, कुछ बात है कि हस्ती, कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौरे जहां हमारा, सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. So what he's saying, there is something in us that all the ancient civilizations got wiped out. कुछ बात है जो हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी. The world has been against us always. सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौरे जहां हमारा. Beautiful
You're
lines.
superb, wonderful. I mean, you guys give insights to almost anything. It's fabulous. So,
Back to the markets.
so now we are going to have I don't know whether you're ready for it. There's going to be a rapid fire round.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Shiva, will you start with a rapid fire round? Or you want Ajay to take it and you get warmed up? Different questions though.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. So rapid fire round, there's a bit of a psychological backstory to rapid fire questions. So I've kept it very easy. Okay, non-controversial. Let's start. Okay, Shiva, your favorite business leader.
The founders of Infosys,
Okay. Rajni or Kamal?
Rajni.
That's okay. Growth style or value style?
Neither.
Okay. You need to have some style.
Yeah, a combination. Growth at reasonable price.
Okay, growth at reasonable value. Test cricket or T20 cricket?
Test cricket.
Okay. One way Bengaluru has changed for the better over the last 10 years.
The metro.
Oh, wonderful. A political leader you would like to have dinner with.
Manmohan Singh.
Okay. A cinema star you wouldn't mind being stranded in an island with.
Marilyn Monroe.
Good. Your favorite book.
Mahabharat.
Okay. American tech and American valuations or Indian tech and Indian valuations?
I hate both.
Okay. India GDP over the next 20 years, 5%, 6% or 7%?
5%.
5%. Thanks, Shiva. You have passed the rapid fire with flying colors. May your dreams come true, especially the stranded island part of it. Okay. Ajay, ready? Your favorite business leader?
Favorite business leader, who do I? Same as him. Yeah.
Good.
Narayan Murthy. Yeah.
Okay. Holiday in the hills or by the sea?
Mountains.
Mountains. Okay.
yeah.
The best age of your life?
Because I live by the sea.
Sea.
So I
Okay.
get a lot. Yeah.
Fair enough. Best age of your life? The 20s, the 30s, 40s or yet to come?
नहीं नहीं हो गया बेस्ट टू कम नहीं अभी खत्म है yeah 20s
The
because I didn't see the great thing is it's rapid fire but I can't stop talking when you give me a mic. So Mark Twain had said, the expert sportsman is not afraid of number 2 and 3 because they play by the rules. He's afraid of the upstart who comes in who doesn't know the rules. Most of them will get killed by the expert, but there will be one who will come and kill him. So that has been the philosophy. When I was in my 20s, I was not afraid of anything. As I started becoming richer and fatter, I started being more afraid of more things.
Okay.
So today I am too afraid. That time I was not afraid of anybody's dad. So
Okay.
20s.
The fearless 20s. Your favorite comfort food?
Comfort food, aloo paranthas. Any day for a Punjabi, chole bhature, aloo parantha.
Wonderful. Okay.
Or paneer dish of any type.
Too good. An Indian brand that can conquer the world?
Indian brand. Which is the Indian brand I'm really proud of? Cut. I think our Tatas, if you look at the ethos and the value.
Values. Good.
Tatas.
Your favorite mythological character?
Mythological character Hanumanji.
Oh,
Total.
wonderful. Okay.
Not afraid of anybody. घर में घुस के मारेंगे.
Oh, good. Will you ever do stand-up comedy?
Sit down is better at my weight.
You're ideal for it. Okay then. The way to your heart, dinner plate, wallet or prayer book?
Prayer.
Prayer book. Okay. Your favorite book?
Favorite book, building on what he said, Ramayana. And Ramayana, why? Because ideal characters in today's world where everything is morally corrupt, it is good to have ideals. I would say Ramayana.
Ramayana. Very good. And lastly, Indian GDP over the next 20 years, 5, 6 or 7%?
Boss has spoken, 5 will be very good if we have 5. 79 was the time, 91 was the time for us to have caught up. Now there are factories all over the world. Vietnam goes faster than us. 5 is what we'll do.
5%. Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, gentlemen. A big round of applause to Ajay and Shiva. Fantastic. You really shared a lot of insights, very useful, workable insights. We thank you so much for it. May I call on stage Manju Madam and Srikala Bhashyam, Vice President, to kindly give both Ajay and Shiva a memento from our side. Cup. Ramesh is the person behind the function today you're seeing. The MFDAC convention he is looking after. Come. Come, Ramesh. Come. Madam, go closer.